Hi, everybody. And thank you today for coming and joining us for the Get Ready webinar today. I'm Jackie Steinberg, and I am both a parent of an STXBP1 child and the scientific liaison, one of the board members. I want to thank you, and I also want to thank a few other people who are helping out today. I really want to send a thanks out to Jim Goss, our scientific director for the foundation, for being here today. He's going to be talking about the STARR study. And I also want to thank our study engagement group members, our volunteers, their fellow parents. Sandy, Suha, and Jamie, thank you for being here as well. And of course, I want to thank Melissa Hiyoko. She is, she's one who helped put this together and also has been doing a lot of amazing efforts in our STXBP1 Awareness Month. As I mentioned earlier, the format for this is going to be, we're going to do presentations, and after that, I will stop the recording and we'll answer questions. But if you do have any questions, you can put that in the chat. Now, of course, the goal for today is we want to discuss about like what we can do as family to help in furthering research towards STXBP1 and to do it in a way that we can set a priority in getting those those goals done. I'm going to go ahead and get started with this presentation. Okay, there we go. So one thing that you may want to know is like, well, where can I find these opportunities to participate in studies? One of the things that you can do is when you go to the stxbp1disorders.org website and you go and you click on the patient and families tab at the top, you can either select the hyperlink, or you can scroll down to where it says observational studies. And in that section, you'll find a number of observational studies and natural history studies that you can participate in. And that's what I'm going to be talking about here today. And I'm also going to talk a little bit further in this section, the next one. Just as a tip, when you're looking at all of these different studies, when you click on the little plus symbol, it drops down a list with more details on that study, where you can find more information, and even how you can enroll in that. So I just wanted to highlight that so you can find even more information on each of these studies. One question that we get a lot of is that there's a number of these studies, and some of them have some overlaps, and it can be a lot. So we'll get questions about like, well, what is this study? How is this different from the other one? Didn't I already participate in this study? There's different aspects, different things that they focus on, and what they're involved with, and who can participate. And I just wanted to highlight each one of these so you can see how there might be some differences. And you can also find this on the STXBP1 Disorders website. And these are things that I just wanted to quickly just go through. So the first one is our STARR study. This is a natural history study. It's a prospective medical clinical type exam with surveys that goes across multiple symptoms. And prospective means it's from that point on to the future that they're looking forward. This is something that involves a clinic visit with surveys every 6 months, and it is open to US and Canada and Mexico, just based on the amount or how frequent we have to, where people have to go into the clinics. And this is what Jim is going to talk more about later in the presentation. The other one that we have is Rare X. This is based on online in a series of surveys. It's also across multiple symptoms or multiple systems in the body. And it's where you start from what they call head to toe. They're looking at every system in the body based on what your response is and whether or not it's impacted. It is something that can be done globally. It's online, but you do have to be fluent in English to do this. The other one is Simon's, and this is one that we have been a participant with or partner with for many, many years. It looks at neurodevelopmental disorders and autism. It involves a virtual or like a telephone medical history interview with a set of surveys, and they also collect biosamples. You can participate globally, but the participant is limited in a number of languages, and the biospecimens are typically collected in the US. For the citizen study, this is where it's a collection of medical records. So they would say that's retrospective. It's like that in time and in the past. They do a one-time consent form that you complete, and then you can update over time when there's updates in the medical records. Typically, you find that it's easier if you're a US citizen to do this. Um, you can do it internationally, but the emphasis is on the individual participating to upload all of the medical records. There is a collaboration where Citizen Health will be able to request medical records inside the US health facilities. The other thing is that you have to be, all the records should be in English. So this is just a rough overview of some of these studies that we have. And then one thing I wanted to highlight is there is noticeable gaps, especially when it comes to location and language. And it is something that we work with these partners to try and see if there's more opportunities for all of our families because we are truly a global group. With STARR, we know like there's ESCO. ESCO is something that is a natural history study. It's going to be launching in Europe with multiple sites there. It's not STARR, but it is closely related, and it's being launched by a lot of researchers and physicians that we work with, and have a lot of overlap in terms of those studies. Rare X, they are now able to accept clinic notes and genetic reports in several different languages. They don't have surveys available in different languages, but they have a few that they're shooting for next year. And in Simon Searchlight, they do have a number of languages and they have plans to try and expand that in the future. So I just wanted to highlight that even though we recognize that not everybody can participate in these studies, that we always continue to try and push to make more available to people. And I wanted to show also, like when we started thinking about how we can present information and get people to participate in some of these studies, one of the things that we had done in previous years is talk about getting people to enroll. And prior to doing that in like the 2022 summit, these were, I have on the right-hand side, this is a slide that I had presented at the last, like I just modified a few things at the past summit, but these are just some of the things that we, like where we are now versus where we were before we started trying to like present information to people and let them know that these things are available. And you guys came out and you did it. You enrolled and it was fantastic. We've seen so much participation. And I think it's a highlight to how engaged our community really is. So we're like we think, okay, what's next? What are we going to do next? We have these partners. We've started the natural history study. Where do we go next? And in thinking about that, we also incorporated some of the things that we're working on in terms of our strategic plan in getting ready for clinical trials and pushing science forward really. So things that we were looking at specifically were how can we support things like natural history studies and biomarker development, what we can do to help improve or get more data to help broaden the knowledge behind STXBP1, both for clinical care and for scientific research. And some of the things that we thought about were this, like we decided to get a get ready campaign. That's how this all came about. We came up with a list of things that we thought, okay, this is where we can further encourage people to participate. Um, One, the STXBP1 contact list. This is a good way for us to be able to get a hold of you and for us to be able to see where resources are, all of those things. The STXBP1 natural history study, which, like I mentioned, Jim's going to talk more about, genetic reports, having them uploaded into Rare X, priority surveys, so picking out certain surveys where to start. Not definitely where we stop, but where we start. And then biospecimens, the collection of those. So we have more biospecimens available. And then we have this optional, like the Get Ready pledge, which I'll talk a little bit more about. So with the contact list, and if you haven't enrolled in this, this is where you can find it. You just go again to the website and you go down to register in our contact list under the patient and families tab. And you can see as you scroll down, there's a number of fields to fill out. Also, if you've already done this, but let's say you've moved or you need to update, you can either send an email or update the contact list again. But if you do that, make sure to put as many of the fields as possible in so that if any information that was on the previous one doesn't get replaced with one that has less information. Um, so as you can see, as it scrolls down, this is probably a little bit longer than I meant to be, but this is also on the bottom of here. This is where the contact list is located as well. And you can see there's also an option here, and this is what I'm like slightly obsessed with, is this community world map. And so I wanted to show you what it looks like today, or this is yesterday. I love this. This is a good example or a graphic representation of where families are located, or at least where we know they are located. So certainly add yourself to the map if you want. And I'm going to go on to the genetic reports because this is also pretty important as well. One of the things that we have been asking families is about uploading genetic reports. And I'm going to stop this for a minute, but this is the Rare X like the dashboard. I went ahead and just went into my own dashboard to show you what it looks like. I've already loaded it up, and what you would need to do is go in, and if you haven't enrolled, you would enroll, or you would log in with your username and password. When you first log into that dashboard, you'll be given an option for the caregiver and then also that STXer. You'd want to make sure you're viewing the STXer, which is like right here. I'm the caregiver and viewing my child right here. So I'm looking at his specific dashboard. When you go in there, you'll go to this left-hand column where it says documents. And once you're there, you get this like field that shows you the documents that are uploaded, and then you want to click upload. This right here, it will have a pop-up where you can upload your genetic report from your computer. And once you do that, you also would tag it with genetic test. I also noticed that you can also upload a Vineland. So if you've done a Vineland and you have it on a like electronic copy, you can also upload that. Let's see. The next thing was, as I mentioned, the priority surveys. So these are surveys that can be found in the RareX dashboard, priority surveys. And like the very first one is that head to toe survey. So that is the primary first survey that you would do. And it talks about the head to toe like symptoms that you would see. And that would then trigger other surveys that come from that. We also want to make sure to put down like medical encounters. So it'll talk about like the last 3 months, what doctors or therapists have been seen, medication and or supplemental usage. So what kind of medicines or dietary supplements, or even if they're on the ketogenic diet. And then there's some other surveys like the quality of life inventory, the ORCA, the sleep habits questionnaire, and the Vineland. And these are ones that are also linked to things that we're looking in the natural history study as well. The idea is to have a robust, high quality data available inside of an open data source that we can compile and then be able to offer for researchers who have a study that they want to do. And then we talked about biospecimens. One opportunity that we have with Combined Brain, we had it at the STXBP1 summit, but if you are in Atlanta, Kansas City, or Los Angeles, or around those areas and do want to donate, we do have opportunities here that you can donate. It'll go towards the biorepository, the STXBP1 biorepository, and there's also a biomarker study that Combined Brain is doing for neurodevelopmental disorders. If you are interested, you can send me an email at Jackie Steinberg or Jackie.Steinberg at stxbp1disorders.org, and we can connect you with them. And also, this is something that's optional, but wanted to let you know, it's the Get Ready pledge wall. So this is just as like a deep thank you and acknowledgement of everything that you guys have done. We wanted to show the commitment by pledging that, I mean, recognizing that everybody can do surveys or be available to do the STAR study, but doing as much as we can so that we're ready and able to accelerate the research into clinical trials for STXBP1. And you can send an email to get-ready at stxbp1disorders.org with your STXer's name, where you're from, and it will get published on the website. So I think that is what I have. I was going to hand it over to Jim. Hold on one second. Are you ready, Jim?
I am, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to put myself on mute. You just let me know when to move a slide.
Okay, thanks. So I'm going to talk about the STAR study and give a bit of an update now that it's been running for a year now. But before I start, I actually want to second a couple things that Jackie had talked about that are really, really important to do. So one of those is the contact list. If you're not on the contact list, make sure that you join our contact list. If you know other people who aren't on the call who may not be on the contact list, then get them to join the contact list as well. So when clinical trials start in STXBP1, and there are a lot of drug companies developing therapies for STXBP1, we know that there's likely going to be a clinical study starting next year, and I'm sure there will be several other clinical studies starting in the years following. One way that they're going to be able to know the patients that they can recruit are going to be through the contact list. So make sure your name is on that. Another thing that's very important to have is the genetic report. You will not be able to get into any clinical trial unless you have a genetic report on file somewhere, because that's very important to pharma companies. They need to know exactly what the variant is that your STXer has. And that's important information for them to collect in trying to understand that the data that they're going to collect during a clinical trial. So also very, very important. With that, I will start the study the STAR study update. Jackie, next slide. Thank you. So the 4 things I'm going to talk about as far as the STAR study is first, what is the STAR study, in case you don't already know, why the STAR study is important, how the STAR study is different, and Jackie, from some of the other things that you've already or may have already participated in, Jackie already discussed this to some extent. And finally, how the STAR study works, or what can you expect if you do indeed enroll in the STAR study. Next slide, Jackie. So as Jackie said, the STAR study is a prospective multi-site natural history study. So what do we mean by that? Next slide. So prospective just means that it's following a patient in the study called a participant, so your STXer, forward in time. This means that you are seen in a clinic, and then you are seen over time, over a period of time. And we are hoping that the STAR study will, which started in last July, will continue for several years forward. And it's important to follow a participant over time because it allows us to measure how the STXBP1 disorder progresses during that period of time. And that's very important when trying to understand if a drug is going to work. This is prospective is different from what you may have been involved in previously, which is a retrospective study where you take medical records that you already have, and those records are examined. Since the records, you may have seen a doctor in the past, that is retrospective. And that's basically what the Rare X in Simons in Citizens do. They are mostly retrospective analysis. Multi-site means just the fact that this study is conducted at more than one clinic site. And so currently we have 4 clinical sites enrolling, and 2 more clinical sites will start to enroll soon. And a natural history study. A natural history study is an observational study. It's just looking at how STXBP1 progresses naturally in patients over time. It is not a study that is testing a new drug. That would be a clinical drug trial or an investigational drug trial or an interventional drug trial. But this is an observation study. So next slide. Why is the STARR study important? Well, as I said, it follows participants over time to see how STXBP1 related disorder naturally progresses. This is very important because we need to know how the disease naturally progresses in STXers, so that if we do give them a drug in an interventional trial, we need to know if that drug is having an effect on how the disease would naturally progress. To see whether or not a drug either stops the disease from regressing if there is a change over time, or if it improves based upon what we would normally expect how the disease would progress. It follows participants of all ages, and so the STARR study is open to everybody. Again, this is very important because this allows us to understand how the disease presents itself in STXers of different ages. The STARR study is an opportunity for us to evaluate several clinical outcome measures. So a clinical outcome measure is something that can be measured medically that might show a change in response to a drug. And so there are a number of things that you can measure. The STARR study is going to help us determine which of those measurements might be most valuable. And so when I say outcome measures, basically what I'm meaning are things like communication, changes in communication, changes in motor behavior, changes in behavior, changes in cognition. So these can all be measured clinically and through parent-reported outcome measures. The STARR study will allow us to see which of these measures can actually be utilized in our population and might be used for future drug trials. Fourth, it provides important control data that hopefully will be able to be used to support future clinical drug trials. So in a drug trial, usually what happens is the patients get drugged, or they may get what's called a placebo, which is basically a substance that has no activity, but is used as a control to see whether a drug is having an effect. In order to compare to see if a drug has an effect, you have to have a group of individuals which act as a control, i.e. people who didn't get the drug. Well, our natural history study is an observational study where you're not getting a drug. So we're hoping that the data that we're collecting can be used as that control. So in a clinical drug trial, the pharmaceutical company will not have to either run a control, or if they have to run a control, it will be much smaller. This just means that the STXers, your kid, is going to have a much greater chance of getting a drug in a drug trial to begin with. In fifth, hopefully by collecting all this data, we'll be able to improve prognosis, healthcare, and counseling of people who have STXBP1 moving forward. Jackie, next slide. So again, compared to Citizen-Simons or Rare X, the STARR study is different in that it's prospective as opposed to retrospective. Second, it's been designed to specifically address questions concerning clinical outcome measures that we're interested in potentially using for drug trials. The other studies, citizen assignments and rare X haven't been designed specifically to address these, though they will collect data that could potentially address some of these questions. But by running a prospective study like the STARR study, we can address those questions very specifically, and the data that we're collecting can be utilized by regulatory agencies like the FDA. The STARR study has more control over the data that we're collecting because we are specifically designing this study. Again, the data we collect can easily be used to support clinical drug trials. Next slide, Jackie. So how does the STARR study work? The STARR study has been split up into two different phases. The first phase began in July 2023, or last year. It consisted of a single visit. It's what was called a cross-sectional study, in the fact that we accepted people of all ages, and we will compare the data between different age cohorts that have been collected. It lasted a year, and it's been a year now. And so the first phase of the STARR study is basically done recruiting. During that year, we evaluated several standardized clinical assessments in STXers. So these would be things like the Baileys, things like the Vineland, measures such as the GM-FM88, which is a motor ability scoring. So these were clinically assessed in STXers. And one of the reasons that we collected this data is we wanted to determine if these standardized assessments could be used in our population, or if they could be altered to be used in our population. So many of these assessments, like the Baileys or the gross motor assay, the GM-FM88, for example, are standardized assessments that are used in pediatrics to gauge normal development. And one of the questions we wanted to know is, can we use these assessments that the FDA and regulatory agencies understand and accept as measurements? Can we use those in our population? And if we can use them, how best we can use them? And if we need to modify them in some way, how best to modify those? And so we were able to understand this better with this first year of the STARR study already. The first year was also an ability for us to kind of work out the kinks of running a natural history study. And so this had everything to do with how to recruit people, where to have people park when they come to a clinic, what rooms can be utilized in the clinic to see your child. So these are all things that had to be worked out, and we kind of used the first year to help work those things out. During this first year, we saw over 100 STXers of all ages participated, and were evaluated at one of the 4 clinical sites. And this is absolutely fantastic. We were kind of hoping for 50, or aiming for 50, hoping we would get 70, and we got over 100. And that just speaks volumes to our parents and our population. And this is just fantastic. And when we tell, we're followed very closely, I can tell you, by numerous pharmaceutical companies. And when we say that we recruited over 100 STXers for the first year, they are flabbergasted. And so we need to keep that up. Next slide. So the second part of the STARR study, or phase 2, is a multi-visit longitudinal study that we want to run for at least 2 to 5 years. Basically, what this means is that participants or your STXer will be evaluated in the clinic every 6 months for a period of time, for the next 2 to 5 years, or as long as we have money to run the study. In addition to in the clinic, there will be parent-reported outcome measures that will be collected also every 6 months. And because the visits and the parent-reported measures are collected every 6 months over a period of time, that makes it a longitudinal study. And because the same participants or your STXer is followed over time, this gives us a nice way of understanding the progression in an individual STXer over that period of time. We hope to enroll 150 to 200 participants in the study, including any phase 1 participants. In fact, if any of you are already enrolled in the phase 1, you already may be enrolled in phase 2. And so that's great. Thank you very much. The other important difference between the phase 1 and the phase 2 is that this phase 2 part of the trial is going to be what's called GCP compliant, which is good clinical practice compliant. And basically, that's just a way of running a study so that the FDA or other regulatory agencies will accept the results in the data. It basically is just a lot of reporting that has to be done, and the data has to be double checked, and there's a lot of quality assurance that needs to occur during this particular phase. But basically, that just allows the FDA to really accept the data and understand and realize that that data was collected as best as it could be. And if that data is GCP compliant, we're hoping that that will allow the data to be used as a control arm for a drug intervention trial. And so this, the phase 2 is enrolling now. So if you have not enrolled previously in the STARR study, and you're thinking about enrolling, this is a great time to enroll in the STARR study. Next slide, please. So as I said, we have 6 clinics. There were 4 clinics in phase 1, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, Colorado Children's Hospital, Texas Children's Hospital, and Weill Cornell Medical Center. Colorado is in Denver, Texas Children's Hospital is in Houston, Weill Cornell is in New York City. Those were our first 4 sites. They are continuing to enroll patients. So if you're close to either of those 4 sites and you haven't enrolled yet, please enroll. Their contact information for those sites are listed. So if you want to enroll, please email these sites. In the near future, and that is hopefully by the late fall, beginning of next year, 2 more sites will be up and running: Cincinnati Children's Hospital and Stanford Medicine, Stanford being in the Bay Area of California. When we have the contact information, we will add these sites. I will say that if you go onto our website under the STARR study, there's some additional information on contacting the first 4 sites. And when Cincinnati Children's Hospital and Stanford Medicine are open to enrolling, we will add those to our website as well, and the contact information for those will be on our website as well. Next slide, please. Again, the STARR study is open to all ages, and we want all ages to apply. So no matter how old your STXer is, they are eligible for the STARR study. Again, it's important for us to understand how STX-BP1 progresses over the lifespan of individuals. And we can only understand that if we are actually looking at examining individuals of all ages. When you enroll in the STARR study, choose the site that is geographically closest to you. And the reason for this is because you're going to need to return every 6 months. So obviously, if the clinic is close to you, it's going to be much easier for you to repeat every 6 months. You can enroll at any time. So, if you want to enroll after this call, that's fantastic. If you need to think about it, enroll next year, that's fine as well. But if you can possibly enroll, please enroll. It's open anytime. It's open to participants of the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, as long as you can return every 6 months. As Jackie said, if you're in a European country, the ESCO or European STX Consortium will be starting their natural history study very soon, by the beginning of this next year. And the STX PP1 Foundation, we also support, not only do we support the STARR study monetarily, we also support the ESCO study. And that study is also very important. And we are aligning how we are running our study, the STARR study, with the ESCO study. Again, with the idea that in any clinical drug trials that end up being run in Europe, they can use our data as well as for a control arm that we collect here. And next slide, please. Oh, so this is didn't quite look good, but there are inclusion exclusion criteria to participate. I think these are also on the website. I don't know why it looks weird here, but the inclusion criteria: male or female of any age, presence of an XTXBP1 gene mutation, written informed consent provided by a parent or legal guardian. That's it. There are some exclusion criteria. The biggest one is the presence of a confirmed mutation in a gene other than STXBP1. And so this may apply to some of you where you might have a large genomic deletion that contains the STXBP1 gene and regions of DNA outside the STXBP1 gene. And the reason that's an exclusion criteria is we can't absolutely be sure that any of the DNA outside the STXBP1 gene, if it's deleted, might also have cause additional deficits in your STXer. Also, presence of a significant non-STXBP1 central nervous system impairment is another exclusion criteria. And then there are a couple others which are actually fairly small, but one exclusion criteria is if you cannot make it every 6 months to the clinic, then it would be difficult to enroll in the phase 2. But we still will try everything we can do to help you make it to the clinic every 6 months. Next slide. So what happens when you join the STARR study? You have to join through one of the clinics. You can't join through the foundation, and there are a couple of reasons for that. One is that the clinics basically have to know who they're enrolling. They have specific days and times during a month where they can see STXers for the STARR study, and so they have to schedule you for that. Another is the fact that your STXer will be de-identified in the study, and so we, as a foundation, can't know basically who is. We can know kind of who's enrolled, but we can't. We don't want to have any ability to match clinical data with particular individuals. And so you have to basically enroll through a clinic site. Well, once you enroll, you'll go through what's called a screening, where the clinic site will determine whether or not you're eligible. When you visit, you'll be given an explanation of the procedures and what will happen during the study. If you have any questions, they can address those questions. you'll be given a consent form that you'll have to review and sign that says that you agree to participate in the STARR study. You will then go through, or your STXer will go through several clinical assessments, including physical exams, blood testing, medical history, and numerous behavioral assessments, things like the Baileys, things like the GMFM-88. And these will be performed on the STXer. And you may, as a parent, be asked to fill out several reported outcome measures at that time. And you will be instructed on how to keep a seizure diary. Next slide. And so basically, this is kind of how the cadence looks. So every 6 months, you can see down at the bottom, there is a screening baseline, and then month 6, month 12, month 18, etc. The gray box is you returning to your clinic site every 6 months. You can see under in the larger gray box, clinical assessments performed at one of the 6 STARR sites. Again, these are things to expect. Again, physical examination, laboratory tests. You may undergo an EEG or QEEG. If you do, it probably won't be every visit. It may be once a year. The physician will collect any medications and medical resources that you have. And then these are the list of the clinical assessments, as I said. So the Baileys, the Alberta Infant Motor Scale, Childhood Autism Rating Scale, Gross Motor Function Classification System, Peabody Developmental Motor Scale. So your STXer may undergo all of these or some of them, depending upon their age or weight, or what the clinical evaluator feels is best for your child to go through. This will usually occur over a day. It can occur over 2 days. So, for example, if you go to CHOP, they tend to do this all during a day. If you go to Colorado, they tend to split this up over a 2-day period. And then sometime during that period, hopefully within the week after seeing in the clinic, you can go and do your own parent or caregiver reported outcome measure surveys. These will be provided on the RareX platform. And so what you'll need to do if you haven't already is you will need to register on RareX. If you are part of the STARR study, it will ask you if you're part of the STARR study. And if you are, then RareX will take you to these outcome measures that you will need to fill out again every 6 months. And they're included here. A variant behavior checklist 2, child behavior checklist, developmental disability, observer reported communication ability, or the ORCA, inventory. And so again, these are all done through and provided via RareX. They're all online. You take all of these surveys online, and again, you would repeat these every 6 months around the same time that you would take your child or STXer to the clinic. Next slide, please. The foundation does reimburse some costs. Your clinic visits should be covered by insurance or through what's called research funding at the site. The foundation does fund these sites to help with the research funding in order for your STXer to be seen. The foundation is also providing a patient assistance program for travel expenses up to $2,000 per year. To avail yourself of those funds, you can apply at research@stxbp1disorders.org. We do ask that you go to travel to the STARR site that is closest to your place of residence. That just kind of helps out a little bit. Next slide. I want to assure everybody that your data is protected. Okay, this study complies with all applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations relating to privacy. The study is HIPAA compliant, and any data or information that is collected in the STARR study will be de-identified before it is shared. And so what do I mean by shared? The data that's being collected for the STARR study is going to be shared to some pharma companies. There are pharma companies that are helping to support the STARR study through funding. In exchange for funding, these pharmaceutical companies and biotech companies will gather some of the data being collected. That data is de-identified, so they can't match up the data collected with your child. But it's important for them to understand globally what the data looks like, because it helps them determine how they're going to run a clinical drug trial. Next slide. This is a completely voluntary study, so you're free to withdraw from participation in the study at any time and for whatever reason. So if you start the STARR study and you find that it's very difficult to complete visits every 6 months and you just can't get that done, you can voluntarily withdraw from the study. Perfectly fine. You may be asked to take part in an early termination visit, or which may be in person or virtual if you do, just to gather some finishing questions, for example. Next slide, please. And as I said before, you may be asked to take part in some additional biomarker studies. This may include EEG or what's called qualitative EEG, collecting of blood, urine, or tissue samples, and maybe even collecting CSF. No one's collecting CSF yet, but this is a possibility in the future. And again, you don't have to take part in these. Again, everything is voluntary. And I think is that it? Is there one more? Yes, there is one more. And so only you can be a STARR. So please, if you already are involved and enrolled in the STARR study, thank you very much. What you're doing is great and really helping to advance drug development. If you haven't and you're thinking of, please enroll. And if you have any questions about the STARR study, please let me know. I should have had my email up here, but it's james.goss@stxbp1disorders.org. You can always reach out to me via that or on our website via my webpage.
Okay, great. Before we stop recording, I had a couple of things. Jackie, do you mind bringing up the checklist for Get Ready? And we can share the checklist. So
Sure.
I wrote down a few little points that I thought that I would just share with everybody real quick before we go to any questions. So a couple of things. First of all, the STARR study was launched with funds that were generated by our community. So when we talk about funding and we talk about funding the STARR study, funding ESCO, funding the travel for families, that is all because our community is amazing and because we've been able to raise the funds to be able to do this. So thank you. I want to say from the bottom of our hearts, because your money is being put towards this, and anybody who donated to you is being put towards this, which is ultimately going to lead us to clinical trials, which is very, very exciting. And that's why we're calling it Get Ready, because the whole point is getting our community ready for clinical trials. And I do want to make one point as far as that's concerned. I just want to say it should be like a little asterisk, I feel like, you guys, that it should say that participation in Get Ready or in STARR does not guarantee that you will be in any clinical trial. So we just want to make that clear. When we do get the point where clinical trials start, that is not something that we can guarantee to anybody. And to be honest, it's not within our control at all. So we just want to make sure that you know that we need you to participate in these things, but we cannot guarantee that you will be in a clinical trial. Again, that's out of our control, but I want to make sure that that everybody's clear on that. But as a community, the more people we have participate, the better our data is. And the better our data is, the more likely we're going to get to clinical trials. So it's super important that we have as many people as possible participate in these things. So the contact list, if we need something, we have no way of contacting you. If we're going to launch a clinical trial, we want to be able to contact you. And when I say we launch, I shouldn't say that, sorry. We will not be launching a clinical trial. A pharmaceutical or biotech company will be launching that clinical trial. But we are able to reach out to you and say, hey, there's a clinical trial that's starting, and you might meet the criteria. So we would reach out to you. And so all of these things are priority to get our community ready. The other thing that I wanted to say, so I already said those. We have a checklist. Are you able to open it? The actual checklist? Can you click on that little link down there? Yeah.
This goes to the website. So
It should go to how do
this,
you get the checklist? The checklist should be,
which checklist? This one?
yeah, you should be able to print it.
Yeah, so it goes to the website, and on the website, you can go
Can you
to,
show it? Can you click
yeah,
on it and show
I
it?
just did.
Okay.
So this is the page that you can print. This is that the Get Ready for Clinical Trials list.
Can you
And so
zoom in on it? I really want them to be able to see the
I
all different check marks.
sure.
Okay.
So this is the list. Can you see it?
No, we
I
can't see it. It's not going.
I don't. Oh, you know what? That's because let me stop the share.
Okay, sure. And
I
I'll keep talking, and I see a question in here, but I just want to say that we want you to look at that checklist. Now, you may have already done some of these things on the checklist. So once you get the checklist, you can check off those things that you've already completed. Here we go. And so maybe you're already on the contact list, maybe you're already in STARR, but keep going down that list. All of these things are the priorities. These are the priorities. We talked about quite a few things during this webinar, but here is that list that we need for everybody to do. These are the things. There's a lot of things that you can do. Please prioritize these particular things. And then the last thing I was gonna say is, why should you participate in RareX? Jim touched on it. RareX is the program that we are using that works with the STARR sites. That is where we are doing our surveys and getting the data is through RareX. So that's super important that you participate in RareX. And that's why those surveys that you see here are through RareX. So you need to make sure you enroll in RareX and that you complete these particular surveys within RareX. And then I think that the only last thing I was going to say is, as far as the funding for STARR, if you find yourself in a situation where you have some funding that you have an expense that is keeping you from participating, please contact us. Let's see what we can do to work with you, to get you to help, to see if we can help you to make sure you can get to the STARR site. Especially if you're already enrolled at one of the STARR sites, we want you to continue to go to your visits. So please contact us. If you're ever not sure who to contact, send an email to info@STXBP1 Disorders, and we will get it to the right person. So if you're like, do I send it to research? Do I send it to Jim? Do I send it to Jackie? If you're not sure, send it to info@stxbp1disorders.org, and we will make sure it gets to the right person.
And also I just put up the slide about about reimbursement costs and the protocol for the patient assistance program.
Right. But if you have questions, please reach out to us and we'll make sure we get those answered for you. Okay, so I think that's it. I have other things that I can say, but I just want to say too that the pharmaceutical companies are super excited. Like Jim said, this is very exciting that we have over 100 patients already enrolled in STARR. The community engagement that we've had, it has been incredible. So we just need to keep up the work. As a community, we just need to keep on moving forward and keep on pressing on. Okay, I think that's it. So I'm going to stop recording.